Hey there, and thank you very much for watching another episode of Your Best You, real conversations around mental wellness. Not only that, it's a Starlight Spotlight where we're focusing on people within the entertainment industry, talking about their success and their psyche. With us today, we have headliner of the Sound of Nashville benefit concert happening on October 6th at the Bardavon here in Poughkeepsie. He's a Grand Ole Opry member, ACM and CMT award nominee, platinum selling artist, known for hits like Redneck Yacht Club, International Harvester, Almost Home. He's serving as Chief Warrant Officer with the 313th U.S. Army Band. With us today, we have singer-songwriter, musician, and activist Craig Morgan. Craig, how are you?
I'm good. I'm curious about my activist part. What am I an activist at?
Well, with all the work that you're doing with the U.S. Army and everything that you're doing to help veterans and soldiers, that is 100% activism.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I don't consider myself an activist. I consider myself a soldier, and I think it's important as soldiers that we take care of each other.
Amen to that. That's a really good frame of mind that you have with it. But you know what? You truly are an activist, you truly are a soldier, and you truly are an inspiration. When it comes to being an inspiration, everybody that I've talked to in regards to this concert, whether that be Maggie Rose, Ian Flanagan, Jake Banfield, Brooke Morber, they have all spoken so highly of you. I believe you've only met Maggie, but the rest of them are familiar with your music and are very excited to be working with you. How do you feel to be joining this concert, helping out mental health services here in Poughkeepsie for this wonderful event with these very talented musicians?
I think it's important, extremely important. And I tell people all the time, our mental health is just as important as our physical health. In fact, your mental health can impact your physical health, your emotional status, everything about you. It's imperative that we pay attention to our mental health as individuals and as groups, people, family, friends. It's important that we're attentive to that.
Beautiful. I definitely want to touch more about the work that you're doing in the mental health realm, but I want to stay on the topic of being an inspiration. You went viral several months ago when you formally invited Jelly Roll to the Grand Ole Opry, right after he spoke to Joe Rogan about his recovery, specifically citing Almost Home as an inspiration during that tough period while he was incarcerated. How does it feel nearly 25 years later when it resonates with your peers, contemporaries, and fans? What does that mean to you?
It's very humbling. I'm grateful for the opportunity, for one, to get to do what I do for a living, to get to sing and write songs. And I mean, that's how I get paid. So I still have to pinch myself sometimes 20 plus years later thinking about it. But I will tell you, the two words I use to describe it most are grateful. I'm grateful beyond words. And I'm humbled by the fact that I still get to do this, one, and two, knowing that it's impacting the way that it is. I've always had a great deal of appreciation of how music impacts and changes people's lives, but it's different when you're that guy who had a song or songs that impact people in such a way that it changes their lives. And I don't take that for granted. I will tell you, I don't take any of the credit. I give God all the credit. To him be the glory, because I do believe that he's laid it all out. And as long as I'm pursuing my relationship with him, he'll use me in ways that that I could never do, or a record label could never do, or no one could ever put together. And for that, I'm grateful.
Amen. God is great in that way, and that's great that you're able to express your faith in that degree. Well, like somebody like Jelly Roll, not only were you able to invite him into the Grand Ole Opry, you've actually had a moment to record Almost Home together a couple of years ago. What was that like, bringing two generations of musicians together to create something that is everlasting and timeless?
Oh, it was awesome. I love Jelly. I've come to be a friend. He's a good friend, a good dude. I love where this is a guy who has such an inspirational story, and he's using it for the betterment of not only himself, but everyone around him. And he's also, I will tell you, when I first met Jelly, he has an entourage of people, from family to friends to everybody. There's 20, 30, 40 people around him all the time. But when we went to work in the studio, he literally drove himself in, walked in the studio by himself. He is a normal person who's had an abnormal and an extremely exceptional story. And I think that's important to use that, again, to try to help other people. And that's exactly what he has done and is doing still today.
That's incredible. And that's so powerful that you guys were able to birth this friendship out of this music. Again, when you wrote the song, you didn't expect where it would take you in life and the people that you were going to meet and the resonance that it would still have all this time later, which is incredible. You said a moment ago, you don't see yourself as an activist. You see yourself as a soldier. And I want to talk about that a little bit. One of the things that we're really excited about here at MHA is the fact that you have this incredible military background. MHA of Dutchess County has one of the biggest veterans programs here in New York with advocacy groups, recovery, social events, so much more. So I know a huge population of our community is really excited to learn more about your story. You originally joined the U.S. Army back in '85, and then nearly 40 years later, you re-enlisted on the Grand Ole Opry stage. We're still talking Grand Ole Opry right now. And today you're assigned to the 313th Army Band, working on soldier-led suicide prevention initiatives using music therapy. Walk us through why you even re-enlisted and tell us about the power of the work that you're doing today.
Well, I'll start with the reenlistment. I reenlisted because when I left, I had about 17 years time in the service. And it's a lot to walk away from. But at the time, I will tell you, hindsight's 2020. Had I known then what I know now, I would have stayed in and finished my time and probably more. But I didn't feel like at the time that I was able to do justice to both employers, the Army and the music industry. And my career was at a point that like I said, I was so busy. I just didn't feel like I was doing justice to both. Not seeing that I was, I made the decision to just walk away. So when offered the opportunity to come back in, I thought it was great. And again, experience showed me that I could do both. And so I was able to re-enlist and join and marry both of my relationships back together again in the Grand Ole Opry, which was just, one, it had never happened. So to be a part of something like that, it was really special. And I take that very serious. I take my career in the military very serious. I love the United States Army. I love what it stands for. I love how what it represents. And this year, as we celebrate our 250th, it's even more impacting. And I'm a part of that, not only as an entertainer, but as a soldier. So to be a part of that is really exceptionally rewarding and humbling. And again, I'll always revert to those words. I'm just so grateful to be able to do it all. That's why I went back in. I still didn't really answer your question. The reason I went back in was I wanted to get that letter that hangs on my wall that says, retired from service to your nation. Having that much time invested and not having that letter that says, you get good conduct after every 3 years. It says, thank you for your service. But having that retirement letter says you fulfilled your commitment to your nation. Mm-hmm. And I've always wanted that. So I'm grateful that I will be able to have that. And it just reignited that relationship with the folks in the military, not just past, but even current military service members. I feel like I have a lot to offer them, even as far as, experience in the military, combat, all of these things where I can communicate those learning thought processes to all of these new members in the military. So that's why I went back in.
Wow.
And the current situation, what I'm working on right now is a soldier-led music initiative. So we have Army band folks that are singing, playing, engineers in the initial recordings, all of this stuff. And because I do this for a living in my civilian occupation, I got to marry all of that with my civilian counterparts. And we've developed a product of 6 songs that I think are going to absolutely change the mindset of some of these service members that might be going through some tough times. And not only the service members, but their families, friends, the civilian populace. We created a music project that will make people think. And that's the whole idea. Our objective is to stop soldiers and stop anyone really. But for me as a soldier, I want to stop soldiers from doing that. I want to stop soldiers from going into those bad places and doing the things that remove them from the lives of others. I don't want them to kill themselves anymore. It's just that simple. I'm going to say it. And that's where we're at. And I told someone one time, I'm not trying to save one. I'm trying to save them all. And I think that should be our mindset. We should stop trying to get away from, if I can just save one, we need to save every one of them. We need to stop them from thinking that is the only way out. And I think that this music will be a door opener for that thought process.
Yeah. Oh my God, how powerful that is. And I apologize. I am welling up a little bit. I'm thinking about a friend of mine who was serving in the Army that unfortunately took his life. I believe it was about 2 weeks before he passed. We were just messaging each other, talking about guitars. He was a huge music buff, and we were always sharing that. I'm a musician too. And we're just sharing that moment together. And then unfortunately, about 2-3 weeks later, he took his own life. I think about him often. So I think about the work that you're doing and what you're doing to help save those lives. I know it means a lot to a lot of the people out there for MHA, but it means a lot to me. As we wrap up this interview, has there been a particular moment that you feel comfortable sharing where somebody's come up to you and said, holy crap, you saved my life?
Oh, absolutely. I can tell you one story in particular. I actually wrote this in my book. A gentleman in Washington, we played the Washington State Fair. We'd headlined that fair that year. And he came up to me and he was standing over to the side. And I, for whatever reason, I think I'd launched a new album. So I agreed to, after the show, to sign everybody's new album. Well, there was a line. It was a 3-hour line. And I told him, I seen he had a prosthetic leg. I said, come on up. You don't have to wait. And he said, no, I want to wait till then. I got something to tell you. So he literally waited 3 hours. And he was the last one. And I said, man, you didn't have to wait. He said, yes, I did. I had to tell you the story. He said, your music saved my life. And I said, bro, my music didn't save your life. God saved your life. But I do want to hear how God used my music. So tell me the story. And he said, I was in Iraq in 2000 whatever. And he said, we were driving down the road and I was listening to a CD on a portable CD player. And it was a song called Paradise that you had written. And he said, it skipped. And I leaned down to hit play on it where it would quit skipping. And a sniper shot through the window and missed. And I was like, wow. I'm like, but that, again, that wasn't me. That was God. And he said, yeah, fast forward a bunch of years. I was sitting in my kitchen and life was just too much. I'd lost my family. I'd lost my leg. I lost a lot. My life just wasn't working. And I remember having the pistol in my hand and contemplating doing this. He said, I was over it. I was done and felt like this was the only way to alleviate all of these problems. And he said, a song came on the radio and I heard it called Almost Home. And he said, I didn't do it. And I'm grateful to this day that I didn't, because my life has turned back around. And I said, well, again, that wasn't me, that was God. But it is impacting, knowing that music can change your thought process. It can change your mind. Sometimes you just need to hear it, and knowing that there is help there. And that's why I'm so excited about this new project. I feel like this project that I'm doing as a warrant officer in the Army with other musicians, military musicians. And again, we're working with my civilian counterparts as well, my people that I've worked with as Craig Morgan, to create a product that I know that when people hear it, if they are having any thoughts whatsoever, it might encourage them to seek help. And that's I think all of us as humans should be doing everything we can to try to help other people in that way.
Craig, this is phenomenal. When can audiences expect this 6-song project? I'm very curious about this now.
Yeah, you and me both. I don't know. It's kind of up to the Army. I'm almost done with my part, and then I will turn it over, basically like turning in my project, and the powers that be will dictate what our next moves and next steps are. Understandable. Craig, I know you got a hard cutoff time. I greatly appreciate you. Is there any last little nugget you want to share with the MHA audience ahead of the Sound of Nashville concert that we're going to be having in October? Just really looking forward to the show. Excited about the lineup. Maggie's a sweetheart and one of the most amazing female vocalists out there. Love her. Can't wait to visit with her again. People think we all hang out all the time, but we're all working so much. Our paths cross, and that's our moment of regenerating that energy for each other. So I'm looking forward to seeing her as well as the other artists. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Terrific. Craig, thank you so much. All the best on the road right now. We will see you in October. To all of you guys, come on out October 6th to the Bar Devon. Craig, again, thank you.
Thank you, brother.